Welcome to Season 3 of Heart of the Gulch. In today's episode, we sit down with musician/songwriter Kaylin Roberson as she talks about her transition from North Carolina to Nashville, playing music on Broadway, and developing her own sound. In today's Walk the Line episode, Kaylin invites us to her Whiskey Jam/Opry showcase as she performs her hit song, Fish to Fry. Let's check out the episode. We are in the heart of the Gulch. My name is Tony Mendoza, your host, and man, it's a new week, and we got someone amazing in our seat today. So this person has made such an amazing music. They have started to really pop off within the past year. Not only that, I've got to experience her music firsthand at a couple of writers' rounds. She doesn't know that, but That's one thing for sure. We got the multi-talented, super gorgeous Kaylin Roberson in the building.
What is up?
What's going on, Kaylin?
Let's go. I'm so excited to be on here with you. I didn't know you've been to a few of my rounds.
You know, I'm sneaky like that.
You sneak in?
I sneak into rounds, and then that's when I listen to the artist that really touches me the most, from just, you know, feel like they have the look. So, for example, one of your 615 house members, Taylor Austin Dye.
Love her.
And when I first walked into one of her rounds, I was like, who the heck is that? I did the same thing for you.
You got to know her. You got to know Taylor Austin Dye.
She's the nicest person ever.
She's hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. But let's go on to you though, because when I walked into one of your writers rounds, I believe this was the writers round at In the Round.
Yes. Okay.
In the Round is located on Demumbrian Street. And what is the bar that it's in?
Live Oak?
Live Oak. That's right. That's where I saw you for the first time. And man, girl, let me tell you something. You took the air out of that place, and your voice, and not only your voice, but the content in your writing skills, absolutely demolished it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, I'm curious to know where you're originally from. And, talk to me kind of about your upbringing.
So I like to say that I'm just from the Carolinas in general, because I was born in Columbia, South Carolina, and I lived a few years there of my life. And I think sometimes the youngest years of your life are like ones that you really hold on to. So I do hold on to it. But I was raised near Raleigh, North Carolina, so I kind of claim Raleigh as my hometown. And yeah, I moved to Nashville almost 5 years ago. We're coming up on that. Yeah.
I mean, so Raleigh, I've been to Raleigh a few times.
Okay.
And I won't say there's a lot to do there.
No, I actually wrote this song with my boyfriend, Matt, because he's from like a big city. But I kind of
Where's Matt from?
Philadelphia.
Okay, yeah, that's a big city.
He's a big city. Like, he's like, you can walk to the Eagle Stadium. He's that close. We could literally hear Bryce Harper hitting the home run.
Wow.
At the World Series. So yeah, he's really close. But I would talk to him just about like my hometown. Like, I kind of call Raleigh like a big city, small town.
It is, because I mean, there's still a lot to do in the downtown area. Raleigh isn't as small as people think. Yeah. I mean, what is it? The second largest city in the state of North Carolina? Yeah,
it's nowhere near close to Charlotte. Charlotte, I think, is actually still bigger than Nashville. But yeah, it's right kind of.
It's right in between. But the thing is, there are fun things to do there. I remember taking a trip there, and Raleigh's not too far away from North Carolina basketball, right?
Nope.
And same thing with Duke. It's right down the road. And there's another school there. I think it's NC State.
NC State, yeah.
See,
okay.
I know some stuff.
Oh yeah, I basically lived on NC State's campus the last like 5-6 years that I lived in Raleigh before I moved to Nashville.
So what do you think that, growing up in the Carolinas, I mean, what did that instill in you as not only a musician, but just as a woman?
Well, I mean, I loved growing up in North Carolina. I kind of grew up more on like the suburbs. Like, when I think about the years of my life that I did the most adulting or just growing up in general, like I lived in Cary, North Carolina, the Cary Apex area, which is just like your picturesque suburban neighborhood area, like the kids can walk to the grocery store at 8 p.m. and no one's going to get hurt. You know, like everyone leaves their doors unlocked.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
It's a great town to be from. It's Apex, the peak of living. Like that's their little quote.
The peak of living?
The peak of living.
Jeez Louise.
So consider me kind of shelter.
Yeah, well, the peak of living is that is a bold statement for a town.
Statement.
Yeah, that's a big
Apex,
statement. But was it,
up.
you know, you said you picked the right town when it comes down to change is happening every day. I mean, my goodness, you moved here 4 years ago. You're about a year older in Nashville than I am.
Okay.
And you can tell me the amount of stuff that's changed in 4 years.
Dude.
What?
I feel like I just take every day as it comes, really. I mean, being in like the creative industry, whether that's music or influencing or podcasting, whatever it is, I'm sure you get it. But it's like, I just wake up and like, I don't know what the day is going to hold, and I choose to live like that. That's a choice.
Yeah, and you know what the thing is, though, is that a lot of people do not realize, because look, a lot of people that watch our show is work in corporate America.
Yep.
They live in places all over that. Shout out to the people that are watching us in New York City.
Oh yeah.
And random towns all around the United States.
Yeah.
And they just, you know, they don't leave those areas. Mm-mm. And they don't see what it's like to live in Nashville, where it's a transplant city capital of, you know, the United States, next to Austin.
Oh yeah. No, I actually wanted to write a song about that. Like, no one talks about being from a town that no one's from. And that's kind of how Raleigh is a little bit. They used to call Raleigh the town of the retired Yankees, because it's a lot of people
from New York
and New Jersey that want to move somewhere south, but, you know, maybe not as far as like Alabama or Louisiana, because that Raleigh's like an in between. Like, we're in the South, but, you know, we're not.
When you're growing up out of the Carolinas and you started to really develop a passion for music, and you started to dive a little deeper into, you know, your type of sound today, but tell me where that initial growth came from.
Well, I mean, music was always something. I tried almost every sport. My parents were very, you don't want to do this anymore?
You look
Try
athletic.
This. Thank you. I appreciate it. I actually haven't been in the gym until today for a long time.
Well, you still have the athletic build to it.
Thank you. But I wanted to try a lot of different sports. My dad wanted us to be well-rounded. But one of the aspects of well-roundedness that he wanted us to have was music. So he put me in piano when I was 6. And I sorry to all the piano teachers out there. I was probably the worst student to have.
No one liked piano. I don't know what it was about it.
No one wants to practice. Some people do. Some people have like the natural ear, I'm not. Everything has been ingrained and trained in
Are your
me.
hands that big for piano? I have little Hispanic hands, so mine doesn't go that far. You remember how they would, piano, they make you stretch your hands so far to reach keys.
Well, you start to like do this like balancing game, and then you're just guessing. I'm guessing with my pinky. I'm like, I hope it's the right one. But yeah, he wanted us to be well-rounded, and I tried a bunch of different sports, and I loved them all, and I'm glad that I experienced them. But at the end of the day, music was kind of something that was always there. Like, I always still kind of like to go to my piano, even if I didn't practice what my teacher wanted me to. I'd go to the piano and play around. And I think I wrote my first song when I was like maybe 13 or 14.
Wow, that's pretty young.
Yeah.
Who inspired that? Who were you listening to at 13 years old-ish to get that inspiration?
13 and 14, I was in the big Adele.
Oh, not Taylor.
And Bruno Mars. No, not Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus. You can't be mad at Miley Cyrus.
Everyone grew up watching Hannah Montana. Oh, yeah. You can't. No one can deny it. So, yeah, I mean, Miley Cyrus, Bruno Mars, Adele. It was a lot of pop radio for me back then. And also, I danced competitively.
So being on a stage for you isn't out of the norm.
No, it isn't. But I will say, ever since I was on American Idol season 20, and I don't know what it is, but I cannot like sit still. Like being like writers' rounds give me so much anxiety because I'm just like sitting there. I'm used to dancing and moving on stage.
That's true. You do sway a little bit, actually. Now that I think about it.
I'm like fidget. Like I fidget with my foot. I'm like looking around. Like I don't know what it is about sitting still, but. Well, you know, it's because you've done a little bit of everything. You've kind of, you obviously were a sports, so you're a competitive person. Yeah.
You obviously have done dance, which that means that you're in front of a large group of people watching you dance, and you had to to mentally prepare yourself to do choreograph and things like that and change.
Yeah.
And then now you also add the piano to your background. You're starting to develop what you are doing today. And when did you start picking up the guitar?
I started picking up the guitar probably around 16 or 17. And the reason why I really wanted to do that, I think my dad gave me a guitar as a gift. But I really started picking it up more than the piano, because on the piano, I noticed my songs were all really slow and really sad songs. Oh, because that's where I was going with the dance thing, was there's actually this whole market, and when it comes to competitive dance, in terms of like a style of music, especially like for a dance style called contemporary dance or lyrical dance, a lot of artists like Birdie, Sleeping at Last, like bands like that are very indie and usually kind of in the sync world for like movies and stuff like that.
So no Black Swan?
No Black Swan.
That's a little too slow.
It's a little, but you like growing up on that, like that's when I started, playing a lot of piano and doing that. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. But I honestly started going to country concerts when I was in high school, shout out Walnut Creek Amphitheater.
Shout out to Walnut Creek Amphitheater.
But yeah, so going to country concerts like that, I think once I picked up the guitar, I was like, well, let me just try to write something. And it naturally kind of sounded more country. And I went a little too far with the country thing for a little bit when I first started writing, like trying to be someone that I wasn't. And then I kind of found that like in between balance between growing up on pop and loving and appreciating live country music and like what I came up with on the guitar. I'm
curious to know like your writing style.
Yeah.
And before you moved to Nashville, did you have your writing style before you moved to Nashville, and how deep you get with your songs?
I think as creatives in general, like naturally you have to be an overthinker and just in touch with your emotional side. So there's that, but I don't think I had any kind of direction or like sense of style or sense of, okay, when I go in the room and I write with 3 other people, like what am I going to contribute here? Because that's an important question. Like when you start taking meetings around town, like they want to know, are you more of a melody person? Are you more of a lyric person? And I kind of have come to notice that it really just depends on the dynamic of the room for me. Sometimes I have to pull more weight than I have to pull in the other lane.
Well, where's your comfort zone?
But I'm very melody. A lot of people compliment me the most on melody. So that's kind of my conclusion, is that I'm a melody person. And a lot of times I can come up with it in my head.
And then you try to
match the guitar,
match it with the guitar. How long does that take?
That part comes pretty naturally to me, way more than the lyric. The lyric's hard because what'll happen is I'll have a really cool melody and I'm like, okay, we need a cool concept and a cool lyric. And sometimes if I am too lyric heavy, then I kind of lose track of that catchy melody that I had in my head. So it really just depends.
So transitioning to Nashville.
Yep.
What was that like to transition from where you're originally from or the area that you're from to making that transition to Nashville?
Like I said, I mean, I've kind of always been used to change because about every 3 to 5, maybe 6 years, I moved into a different house and maybe went to a different school. And I went homeschooled in high school, fun fact. And like I did online school.
I never would have guessed that from your personality. That you're homeschooled in high school.
Look, if you homeschool your kids, I feel like at least let them get through middle school. Because I developed, like at a young age, I did develop decent social skills. not that people who are homeschooled the whole time don't have social skills. But
you don't have to say that. I'm going to say that. There's people out there in the United States that have only been homeschooled their entire lives, and I've met these people in the real world and working corporate jobs, and these people are not people. They're different.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'll say that. You don't have to say that.
Yeah. It's just, but yeah, a lot of people say that. They're like, I didn't know you were homeschooled, but
yeah, I would never.
I mean, it was sophomore year of high school. I switched to online school, and I actually continued online school all through college. I actually only took one class on a campus, which was Wake Tech. I started out at Wake Tech, and then I transferred to ECU, but I finished everything else online in Nashville. Actually,
what was your age? Were you 20 or 21?
I was 20.
Did you have a fake ID?
Yes, actually.
At least you admitted it.
I'm not afraid to admit it. Yeah, I actually wasn't planning on it, and it wasn't like sketchy or anything. I literally got it from one of my sister's friends who came to town when she turned 21, and she was like, you have to come out with us. You have to come out. And I literally was like walking out as if I was 21, and I was like, wait a second, I can't get into these places. And she had the bright idea. She was like, I'll just give you this fake idea that I've been using for the past like 4 years of my life. So it was like a...
Did it ever get taken away from you? The fake?
No.
Never?
Never.
All right. What was the one place that you were surprised that you got into with the fake?
Red Door.
Red Door Saloon?
Yeah.
Why? I would think they'd let anyone in there.
Their bouncers are good at their job.
Okay, fair enough. So
Red
no
Door and
disrespect.
Kung Fu. I've heard a lot of people get their IDs taken there.
Tell me about your first time coming to Broadway, listening to all the musicians that were out on Broadway.
So one of the first things that I was determined to do when I moved to Nashville was to play on Broadway.
Absolutely, as everyone
I couldn't
should.
get into the bars. So I was like, well, maybe, because back in my home, like even Raleigh, like there were a few honky tonks and a few bars that would just put the X's on my hands and be like, you can play. And usually my parents had to be there and then they'd take me out. So I was like, maybe there's a bar here that's nice enough to let me play underage.
So you played over there in the Carolinas prior to even coming to Nashville?
Yeah, I had a band back home and we played around town for maybe 4 or 5 years.
Oh, so you thought you can get in to Nashville from getting into the Broadway bars by being the musician that's performing?
Yes, and I did.
And you did? Hey, who was the first? Obviously, you didn't drink while you were there.
No,
but,
I did not.
Yeah, you didn't drink. But where was the first place to give you the shot?
John Rich's bar, actually.
Really? John Rich's bar?
Redneck Riviera.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What was that like playing there?
Honestly, it was the most perfect place, I feel like, for a new artist who's coming into town to figure out Broadway and just figure out, like, I was terrified the first time. Was like, yeah, you don't really take breaks downtown. You kind of play for 4 hours and you take requests. That part is very new until you come to Broadway, is having a big enough repertoire, like whether it's on your phone or and just of songs that like to be able to take requests.
What about bands too? Like, I don't get that. So for example, every Broadway singer, when they're singing their set 4 hours, which is crazy, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
You develop your vocal cords, that's for sure, doing that. But how does everyone stay in tune of what you're going to play next?
Well, I'm really bad. I feel like a lot of drummers really don't like me because I'll just start playing it, and then they look at me like, "What are you doing?"
That's something that really does happen a lot on Broadway, or what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But I try to do the typical thing that I've gotten better at is I don't really play much on Broadway anymore. But
well, yeah, just back then. Yeah, back then.
I would turn around and I would just shout the name of the song, and they usually know what it is.
Wow. And how Broadway, it's very challenging in Nashville. First of all, to get on Broadway. So kudos to you to get on Broadway, because that's not easy.
Well, you want to know what I did?
What'd you do?
I want to say this just because I feel like it's, at least in today's times, it's kind of a new way to approach it. My guitar player back home moved to Nashville, and I was like, I kind of had convinced him to, because selfishly I wanted him to play with me. And I was like, we're going to get a gig downtown so that you can pay your rent. So we, like trick-or-treating, took business cards, back when still people had those instead of just, hey, here's my Instagram. And we went around to like 10 or 12 different bars on Broadway, and I just handed him my card and I said, hey, I'm Kaylin, I just moved to town. And Redneck was, I think there were only 2 bars that had reached back out to us, and Redneck was one of them.
4 years ago when you were on Broadway,
yeah,
what was it like? What would be a good take home for you?
One of the main reasons why I did it, like you said, is because it kept my vocal stamina up.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important, especially when you just move here and maybe you're not writing every day and you're not using your voice every day like I was back home. So, but I think you can overdo it. I know that's a lesson that I've learned just watching other friends also play on Broadway, is I think you can, especially singers, can over sing and pick up shifts and ultimately just wear themselves out. I mean, I was playing the 10 to 2 a.m. shift.
The 10 to 2 a.m.?
10 to 2 a.m.
Well, that means that's great, though, because if anyone's playing, so for y'all that never been to Broadway, if you're playing at 10 to 2 a.m., you're in a way you're the main person.
It's a good shift. I will say some of the bars at that point, it's everyone who's in their 20s that's like just
They're
hammered.
Gone. They're gone. But but they're not gone at 10.
No.
They're not gone at 10.
No.
2 o'clock they're gone.
2 o'clock they're gone.
Yeah, you shouldn't even be like, honestly, if you're a cop and you just waited for people to leave Broadway, 2 a.m., you're catching everyone. You can get everything. So, but anyway, so let's transition from Broadway.
Okay.
And then when did it start coming a little bit more, when did you start taking writing and your songs in a little bit more serious of a direction? When did you start getting the inquiries about you joining, 615 House, for example?
Yeah, well, Chris Rudiger actually is kind of one of the people early on that I had gotten to write with. I'd say maybe within the first year that I moved here. But I think everyone kind of does this thing when they first moved here where you use social media as a way to maybe connect with other people that, have maybe been here already for a year or two.
You mean DMs, right?
DMs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally just direct messaging people being like, hey, I just moved here, saw your stuff, really like it, let's write. And here's the trick to that, that I learned through that process was don't reach out to someone who's been here 6 to 10 years that has already, you can.
Established yourself in
Go get coffee with those people. Pick their brain, but don't. Those people probably have a lot of their writing crew established, and that's not to say that they won't write with someone new, but everyone says in town, and it took me forever to figure this out, but like you kind of move up with your class. So try to figure out who your class is, like try to figure out who the other people are that are still kind of new to this and that you might write really well with. But that's what I did. I just direct messaged people and slowly, like it might be 1 to 2 writes a week. That's it. But you have to be active and like book your calendar the way that someone would if they had someone else doing it.
As a writer, and you have people looking to write with you now, and you have actually people that are showing up at every show now just to listen to you. Tell me how that transition's been. How cool has that been?
It's been very natural. I think there's a lot of times as artists and songwriters that we want something to feel forced and pushed time-wise, especially with social media, because social media has changed the game. Someone can take off in overnight. And so I think it's hard to see that and not want something to happen overnight as well. But for me, it's been pretty natural. A lot of the connections and stuff that I've made that have helped me grow, I guess I call it kind of like a respect thing. It's just been really natural for me, whether that was, I met so-and-so at church who knows so-and-so, or it's just really making Nashville your hometown and creating your own community of people that you love. It's pretty much it.
Well, and then also you talk about having, those core people in your corner too, earlier on. So, who are the people that are in your corner today that help you stay grounded in a way and help you make these songs? And we got to talk about these songs next. And then we also got to talk about American Idol.
Yeah.
That's another thing we need to talk about. But let's first talk about the people in your corner right now that are continuously helping you grow.
Well, right now I still have a really small group of supporters in some stance, but a really mighty one. I actually like to, shout out my publishing company. I just signed my publishing deal last July.
Hey, congratulations.
Shout out Pure Music. The president of Pure Music Nashville, Michael Knox, he's produced all of 11 of Aldean's records, and them signing me over there has just been a blessing. And that happened through a lot of close friends of mine, people that I co-write with, Noah West, a guy, Jaron Boyer, who he wrote Somewhere on a Beach. We kind of called Jaron, me and my boyfriend both call him like our Nashville dad, because he's kind of taken us under his wing since we met him. And just, people like Ward with Whiskey Jam that just kind of watch what you're doing. And
he's sneaky, isn't he?
He is sneaky.
Ward is just as sneaky as I am, honestly, except he has a better platform than I do. But he's the type of person, Ward is the type of person to hear your name in murmurs. Whiskey Jam will hear about you first.
Yes.
And then Ward does his due diligence and he says, hey, you're different. Let's put you on a Monday or a Wednesday show, right?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I think, sure, there might be people who have like a champion that elevates them a lot quicker, but at the end of the day, you still have to put in like the work
You talked about social media.
Yeah.
Talk about how important social media has been in your growth so far.
It's been extremely important. I think at any level right now, social media is, a huge factor, because I think there's a class of artists and musicians who actually kind of miss the social media curve just enough to where it matters, but it doesn't, like Morgan Wallen doesn't have to go make a TikTok to stay relevant. Everyone knows his music. You know what I mean? Like he missed, I think, the curve of, oh wait, I actually have to use social media to get the data to go into a meeting and say, look at how many monthly listeners or look at how many followers that I got on this video, because that means something now.
Well, because you have so musicians and artists have qualitative, they don't always have quantitative numbers to go by. Yeah, you have Spotify. Yep. And how's your Spotify doing, by the way?
It's doing pretty good. And I mean, it can always do better.
Everybody can do. We're in a.
It's upcoming.
We're in the age of numbers mean something, right? So even the amount of likes you have on your posts means something now. Yeah. But like, what's a number that you feel right now on Spotify, for example, for your music? What's a number that you wanted to see grow within the year?
I would like to at least reach like 300, 400,000 monthly listeners.
Bro, and where you at now?
I actually have no idea. I haven't looked at my Spotify.
Well, but the thing is though, I don't think you're that far.
No, here's the thing about social media. I mean, I just had a video that I posted right before I went on a cruise to Mexico, actually, of a song that I thought was kind of funny and cute for like the summer. And I just posted it literally, of course, the one time I'm thinking like, oh, this isn't going to pop off. It's at 4 million views right now, and things like that will, change your monthly listeners, and maybe I should keep track of it more, but I haven't even really gone to look over at Spotify, because I just have a good feeling like if people are reacting to this song the way that they are on Instagram, that Spotify and things like that will follow. But I try not to micro-analyze it as much as I can, just for my mental health.
For an independent artist, what's the most important stat that you can look at?
I'd say monthly listeners, because those are people that are coming back and listening to your music. Those are people that are going to buy tickets when you come to a town that you've never been to before. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing, is taking the followers and the views, turning them into monthly listeners or subscribers on YouTube, whatever it is, and then turning those people into people that will physically go and show up to your concert to watch you. You're
just finding what really fits you.
What works and what doesn't. That's
what works and what doesn't.
Testing the waters.
Yeah, you're testing the waters and different things. But let's go on to some of your music, though, before we go on to these questions. Because we got questions called Crowd Noise, where your fans ask you some questions.
Oh, no.
Now, what is your favorite song that you've produced and put out there thus far?
My favorite song that I have gotten produced and put out there has to be Die First, which I know you're kind of talking to me about earlier. But that song's special to me because of, multiple things. Obviously, it's a really special song for my heart about someone that I love. But more than that, like, I wrote that song at a time when I was kind of starting to get to write with maybe other writers who had publishing deals. I was kind of taking a little bit more meetings with some people and just getting my foot in the door. And it wasn't a really common question, but it was more like, man, if people ask me this, I want to know what the answer is. And that's, what do you contribute in the writing room? And I just felt like, man, I haven't written by myself in a while. Like, I don't really know what the answer to that is anymore, because I've gotten so into the co-writing thing that I don't know what I contribute. And I woke up and I had this amazing idea, and as much as I wanted to save it for that co-write, I was like, no, I just am feeling this right now. I'm going to write it right now by myself and prove to myself what my contribution is in the writing room. So that day I wrote that song in maybe an hour, maybe hour and a half. And I started to, things were kind of already in the works with the publishing deal, but that song's one that I'm the most proud of because of that, I think.
There's a few people that are watching this right now that want to know who the true Kaylin is.
Yeah.
What song should they listen to today?
The song you should listen to today is Die First.
And then what else after that?
After that, I would listen to, I would listen to the first EP I released. when I moved here. It was called Breakup Proof. And there's a few songs on there that just don't get enough love. You know, they were just earlier songs of mine. And like when I first listened to Morgan Wallen, one of the first things that I did was I went back in his, you know, catalog that was on Spotify. Yeah. And I found the older songs and I was like, okay, so you can kind of see the development. And I think that's cool. So yeah, go listen to my first EP, Breakup Proof.
That's amazing. Okay. So I cannot go any longer without you hearing what your fans have to say. I got 2 questions. And like I said, you may recognize their voices. You may not. Okay. But I'm not going to tell you who they are. You ready?
I'm going to offend them if I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, so don't say any names. Okay, you ready for crowd noise?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Hi, Kaylin. What's one piece of advice you have for someone that has an audition for American Idol?
For someone who hasn't auditioned for American Idol, just don't go in expecting too much. In terms of like, don't overthink what are the producers thinking. The producers actually gave us the best advice themselves. They're like, don't be the producer. You're going to overanalyze, you know, oh, they already know who's going to win, or they already know this step. The more you think about that, like me, the worse you're going to perform, because I always felt like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the time that they tell me no, I'm on the chopping block, because I was producing in my head. I was like, they already know, I'm gone.
Talk to the people about what the American Idol process was like. And I mean, how did you enjoy it?
It is a once in a lifetime experience. I grew up watching Idol and always actually dreamed of going on one of those shows like that just to check it off the box. I feel like anyone who likes to sing or do music, you know, that's the like ultimate, I have to do this before I die. And I actually auditioned for like The Voice, Idol, X Factor. I mean,
how did you audition for all these different shows?
Well, it started with me standing in a long line that wrapped around some convention center. And then the more I kind of posted music on social media, the more they have, you know, producers and talent scouts. I don't know what their official role is called, but they'll search for talent themselves on social media to maybe kind of help filter out, you know, who's waiting in line. And then once that happened, you know, I got asked to come, you know, maybe skip the line step and go directly to like the producers.
But you did have to stay in line for some, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
For most of once I did the legwork, I was like, dang, I waited in this line like 6 times. And then as soon as I had a producer like reach out to me about kind of like a private audition, here's your time slot, I was like, yeah, I'm not waiting in line anymore. But yeah, I feel like for anyone who has an audition, you have to go through the line. You have to do it. And then after that, you know, earn your keep. And
well, there's not a lot of people that can do things like you have on social media. Your social media is so organic. It's very real. Mm-hmm. It's you're not lying about anything. You have a microphone like this, and you have you just have a camera, or you have your phone, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And you just put it up against there, and you sing your heart out.
Yeah.
Not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone's that open to being that vulnerable.
Yeah, it's a tough balance. There's a lot of my guy friends, even my boyfriend, love him, but it's just a hard thing, especially for like guys to do, or just in general. Like when you sign up to be an artist, like we didn't know that we were signing up to be this. It's just kind of evolved into that since social media has become a big thing, and it's a really hard adjustment for a lot of people. And like I said, there's a generation of musicians that have kind of missed that curve of like really relying on social media. But in the end, it's about the song. I mean, I think no matter what we're gonna see, like in the next 10 years, that it's still about the song.
What's it like to one day wake up and seeing your requests and your likes? I mean, tell me what that experience is like, kind of semi going viral.
Honestly, for me, it was shock, because as someone who does really give social media like an honest effort, and I'm not the best at it, but I at least try to post like one thing a day.
You do a great job, by the way. It's a great follow. Actually, give everyone your at real quick, just so.
Okay, follow me at Kaylin Roberson. There's no T in that. Kaylin Roberson. But yeah, I thank you. I appreciate that, because I do try to give it, you know, a decent effort. Like I said, I signed up to be a songwriter and a musician, and trying to hop on like the influencer thing was not something I really dreamed about doing this whole time, but I'm adjusting, as I think a lot of us are. But I remember being on the cruise, so we didn't have the Wi-Fi package. So we're in the middle of the ocean, and the only person who had the Wi-Fi package was my boyfriend, because his mom wanted to make sure that she could kind of keep track of where he was at if anything happened. So
sounds like my girlfriend.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I was like, one night, I was like, please just give me your phone so I can check out that video. I'm just curious as to how it's doing. Because before I left, it was kind of doing better than my other videos, but it wasn't. It was maybe at like 20. It
always starts with like this little curve where you see that it's like, oh, maybe this is going like 5,000 better.
Yeah, you're like, it was at like at least like 1.5 million, I think, at that point. And I just remember like we got back to our little cabin. I just like was in shock, and he's like, what's wrong? Like I was looking at his phone like just smiling back and forth. So did that
change anything? What did that change? So going viral and finding a song that really connected with people.
Yeah.
And it was the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. And then you also was American Idol still, was that after or before?
American Idol was before.
Okay, so you had American Idol pushing you from that content perspective. Mm-hmm. You have that song that connected with people, made it for the perfect equation to becoming a little bit more of an influencer on Instagram.
Yes, which I'm very new. I mean, this has all happened so recently in terms of the video of my song going viral. Like, it's happened so recently that I just keep trying to post every day, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm still kind of feel like I'm playing this game of catch up, but it's exciting I try to go on every day and be like, hey, if you're like new on here,
What's your demographics like? Is it predominantly women?
Yes.
Hey,
shout out to the ladies.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it because I think at the end of the day, a lot of the times it's the ladies that buy the concert tickets and they drag their boyfriends into it, or their husbands, or whatever it is. So, I mean, I'm all about, being on the side of the women. So, but it was pretty even. It's not that offset, but also my Fish to Fry song, I did the video and I was like, me and my writers thought that more girls needed more like fishing songs. It's ultimately a breakup song.
Yes.
But it has this like fishing.
You got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. So I think because of that.
Such a cute song. I love it. All right. But speaking of the males, we got another question. Don't think I forgot about the last question.
Oh, here we go.
That we got for crowd noise. Let's see here.
Hey, Kaylin. Which Writers Round venue is your favorite to play at?
Oh, my favorite Writers Round venue to play at has to be the Listening Room.
And you just played it.
I did.
Hey, that's awesome. Congratulations by the way.
Thank you. I just love it because it's the one place I get to kind of play like my sad emotional songs. And actually this last weekend I played a lot of my like funnier songs like Fish to Fry. But either way, it's just cool because, the amount of times we play gigs that no one's listening to anything that we're saying is more often than not. Mm-hmm. So it's also a more kind of touristy venue lately, which I love because, don't get me wrong, I love, doing showcases around town and playing for all my musician friends. But those are the most nerve-wracking gigs to me because we all do this every day. We do this for a living and they're there to support, but it's just not the same as taking someone from Alabama or wherever. And
absolutely,
it's not the same.
All right. So how do you stay above those people that never saw your vision and that would never believe that in a million years that you would make it to a publishing deal, to you putting out amazing music and, going viral and all these things?
I actually feel like some of the biggest haters, and I'm sure there's a lot of musicians and even you that can testify to this. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of the biggest haters in our life are the people that we're closest to.
Damn, you went deep there. That's so true.
There's a lot of people I think in my life and I'm grateful for that because I think at the end of the day, like that's what, not to say that something negative is what pushes me. There's a lot of positive that pushes me, but there's nothing more gratifying and satisfying than keeping your head down, doing what you're trying to do. And then those same people that they're not going to say it to you. Like I said, they're close to you. They love you. They're not going to say, hey, I don't necessarily believe in what you're doing. But then as soon as you do what they didn't believe you could, they come back and there's some level of I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know that this would happen for you. And you can just tell because of how excited they are now versus how they were back then, that back then they didn't really believe in what you were doing.
How does that make you feel today?
I'm grateful for it.
Are you? Even though that some people maybe, some people doubted you and they didn't think that you would get to where you are today, and you're still not where I believe that you're going to get to.
There's a lot of people who still doubt me, but a great example, and I honestly can't even, I don't even really know his name or who he is, but one of my dad's friends messaged him on Facebook and was like, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really listen to your daughter's music when she was 15 and put out, I kind of, said that it sounded good and I didn't really think, and that's fine. I literally don't get offended by that at all, because there's a lot of people that I'm friends with or love in my life that I'm like, this isn't what I would turn on my radio right now. And the truth is, and I tell a lot of my friends that are also in Nashville trying to write music, just keep your head down. I mean, even if the closest people don't believe in you, who cares?
That's right.
Like, honestly, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, are you having fun? Are you happy when you go to bed at night because you're doing what you love to do? And I think that's the thing about doing something you love is right now, if I had to quit everything and music-wise, I wouldn't really quit, but if I had to go get a real job and use my degree or whatever, like, at the end of the day, I'd still be sitting in my bed all my time off writing songs.
That's right, because that's in your heart.
It is.
Now, okay, what are you looking forward to the rest of the half of this year? And what are you looking forward to the top of next year in 2024?
Well, I have a few goals. I honestly, in the next 2 years, would really like to just kind of grow my team. Right now, I have a publishing deal. I'm hoping that, there's a record deal in the works, and I hope that there's booking and things like that within the next 2 years, which I think is really
very
doable.
Possible.
But for the rest of this year, I actually, as an independent artist and as someone with a business degree, I sometimes am like, I need to sit down and plan out, what I'm going to be releasing and plan out all the marketing and videos and everything for that. And then I post a song like Fish to Fry and it blows up more than the songs I was planning to release, which is my own fault, but I'm human. I'm like, I just want to see what this does. And so at this point, still as an independent artist, I am just planning to release singles, which hopefully later on can turn into an EP, but I plan to at least release a few more songs this year. So
sometimes the best idea doesn't win.
Yeah.
It's the spontaneousness that wins.
Absolutely. And the thing is, and I overthink this all the time, especially with my first song popping off being a fishing song, that kind of leans more on like the chill country side of things. Like I grew up, like I said, on so many different styles of music, and I think that shows in my writing.
Absolutely.
Like in terms of country music too, like I can equally listen to a Tyler Childers as much as I can listen to a Morgan Wallen. And I know that not everyone's like that. And I'm not asking anyone to be, but I just want a following that's kind of like me, kind of grew up in like this in between. I listen to everything, and there's going to be a song that a Tyler Childers fan loves of mine, and there's going to be one that they don't like because it's too pop country different, or whatever it is, too different for what they're used to. And I think that's fine. And I'm trying to embrace, I guess, the variety. I've been calling it country with a K because it's just a bunch of different versions of country music that I kind of am influenced by.
Okay, well, this is going to be, when we release this, it'll be later in the year anyway. So honestly, what are some of the songs that you plan on releasing, or do you already know the songs?
I mean, I have a lot that I plan on releasing. But again, if I post one and it takes off, then I'll probably change my direction. But I definitely want to release a song that I've posted before I posted Fish to Fry called Breaking Down. Mm-hmm. I have one that people keep asking me about called The Middle One, about my middle finger. It's a little on the little Hailey Whitters vibe kind of song. But I think I'm going to let the fans talk right now while I don't have a label or someone kind of controlling what I do. I kind of want to experiment what the fans want to hear. So I'm just going to keep posting and seeing what does good.
I love it. Okay, so speaking of what the fans want to hear and want to see, they want to see your day in the life. Now, it could be anything. You can take us to a writing session. You can take us on another a writer's round. You can take us on to a performance or anything around the sorts. This is your day in the life. But the way that we coin it is you look straight into that camera.
All right.
You say your name, and then you say that this is how I walk the line. Okay, so let me give you this applause. And in 3.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Kaylin Roberson, and this is how I walk the line.
Hey, Kaylin.
I bet you think I'm in a bar, washing out my broken heart, keeping Lynchburg in business, crying rivers with my tears, talking about you bending ears, finding anyone who'll listen. Bet you think I'm waiting for you to come back, but I couldn't be further from that. 'Cause I got a friend with a boat, got nothing but time, got a cooler full of cold and a reel in my right hand. As far as I can see, there's plenty in the sea, so I ain't thinking about you. The only thing blue is the water. The only thing weighing me down is the weight below the bobber. Yeah, I ain't gonna worry about you gone for goodbye, 'cause I got bigger fish to fry. Won't let you rain